is a weekly publication of independent political and economic news analysis by the economist Jargal. Our gazette is published in Mongolian, English, Japanese, and Russian. Please order your subscription online at www.jargaldefacto.com or from the post office called Mongol Shudan near you. Also, you can order by phone at 7007 8916.
Good evening. Welcome to DeFacto Review, our weekly in-depth analysis on the current news and affairs with our commentator and economist, Mr. Jargal DeFacto.
Good evening.
And you can join in on our conversation on MNB World Facebook page and on Twitter via hashtag Jargal_DeFacto. Now let's get into our first topics for the today. 154 laws adopted during the autumn session. Is it true that air pollution was decreased by 50%? Mini tunnel of the law legislative power. Hey, let's get into our first topic for today. Parliament's regular autumn session concluded this week. The sessions were held for 11 months and since last year's March without any break. Parliament Speaker Zandarshatter noted that Mongolian Parliament session never continued this long in history ever. During these 11 months, the session took place a total of 86 days, in which the main session took place for 32 times and other sessions 119 times, adopting a total of 154 laws. So our first question about this one is, the Parliament Speaker highlighted that in general, the quantitative terms, they made success. So, but what about the quality of these sessions?
Well, good question, because according to the old constitutions, which is amended last November, Parliament session should continue for at least 50 days. But due to new amendments of the constitutions, Parliament session should go not less than 75 working days. And yet this session was more than, it was 86 days, which is way more than even the new regulations. And not only continued for 86 days, but it made 32 sessions. And it adopted 150 laws and 51 parliament resolutions. Whether it was achievement or not, it is a matter of measuring its quality. And unfortunately, in that sense, measuring the result efficiency of regulations in Mongolia, we are a lot lagging. Why? There is no clever system or independent system where we can give proper evaluation of the quality of laws. There is in a West-established democracy system called regulation impact assessment, which is not existing in this country. As a result, people are doubting about the quality of laws. If the laws are of high quality, why some laws are changed every year, and not every day even? For example, mining law, VAT law, education law. Those laws are almost for last 10, 15 years, almost more than 350 or so provisions are changed. So it is raising a question, what kind of laws our legislatures are adopting. So that's the question we should return many times, as we have a problem with the process of preparing the laws, adopting, implementing. In particular, for example, we have a law about the laws. Since 2016, it should be every law must have a particular research about the need of the new law or changes in existing law. It should be consulted with the stakeholders, and it should be properly discussed throughout the sessions, and it should also again involve all stakeholders, which are not necessarily the case of Mongolian law regulation, the adaptations. So that's why in quantity terms, one thing, in quality terms, another thing.
So could you tell us about the highlights of this autumn session?
Yes, this autumn session had several highlights. First of all, they have made amendments to Mongolian constitutions, which were discussed for the last 20 years. And nobody could do that because no political party has such a majority of seats like this one. And finally, they have discussed, and hopefully it will bring more quality to the governance of Mongol public governance in this country, first. Secondly, these sessions made resolutions to improve the contract with the largest project of Mongolia, Oyu Tolgoi copper mine project contract, to be improved. That's a particular type of resolution is there. The third, this changed the law about funds of government. You know, there are some plus 30 funds through which 1/3 of their budget expenses go through. And apparently it turned out that they are not under sophisticated or under proper monitoring. One example was the Fund for Support of Small Medium Enterprises, where almost half of the parliament members got the money, about $1 billion each, with the discounted rate to their own related companies. And after that, I mean, it costed the previous government their seats, and the new government had changed the law, and hopefully we will have more transparent funds to be used. And also another specific of this session was Mongolia went into the list of FATF gray list. Nothing to congratulate, and a lot of things to change. And finally, a special highlight, I think, is deserving the change where in the law where they can reopen the cases which are closed due to the time span spent for any investigation. There are several and hard and corrupt cases where the cases were closed because the time to investigate that case, in some cases there are 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, and it was a very not clear case. And so now this parliament had decided to reopen some files. Whether it will happen in life or not in reality, we will see.
So for good or for worse, this autumn session has concluded. What should we expect from the upcoming autumn session? And could you tell us what kind of laws and legislations may be discussed during that session?
According to their agenda of spring sessions, which is last sessions before the election this time, there are several interesting issues to be discussed, adopted, changed, some laws. One first time Vision 2050 of the government, long-term concept of development will be discussed at the parliament. Before we have been seeing the vision of the country for 10, 20 years, almost now 30 years, at least some document is there. Scientists, researchers were working on the document. So it is something that every Mongolian family is to understand and to discuss. It's a good thing if they discuss it. Secondly, they will change 3 laws. Laws about president, law about parliament, law about government. All 3 to be fixed or amended according to the amendments of the constitutions. And hopefully, for example, the government in Mongolia, it means only cabinet. Yet the government means a parliament, president office, and so this kind of things, hopefully they will be there. So these are the highlights of new spring sessions. And another thing that we are most expecting and waiting for quite some years is the legal status of Ulaanbaatar city. Half of the people live in this city, and yet we don't even elect our own mayor, who is now elected and adopted by the prime minister, elected among the Jargal members and approved by the parliament members. Yet the citizens demand more independence in that, and we want to have a direct vote for the mayor. Hopefully this law will be discussed, though we don't expect this change will be there, this particular change. The other two things that they are saying they will discuss it, which we don't believe they will discuss it. This is a new law of political parties and law of political parties financing. And these two laws are staying in that agenda for last almost 20 years of each sessions of each parliament, and they never discuss it. You know why? Because these two laws ideally will disclose a lot of corruptions in this country, and the political party financing is the source of corruption, which gives the chance for people to buy public positions to impact on the way how government works, and I don't think this parliament is able to discuss this law and change it.
Okay, so let's get into our next topic for today. Standing, temporary and subcommittees presented their works after the conclusion of the regular parliament session. During this presentation, Chief of Air Pollution Reduction Working Group, Oyun Chimik, said that a total of 75 billion Toguks was spent to reduce air pollution this year by 50%. So our first question about this is, can we conclude that coal briquettes made positive impacts?
Well, it is to be, by the way, actually to complete it and evaluated by professionals. And in terms of, at the level of consumption, so at the level of citizens, we have seen first time very visible change in the air pollution in the society. Smoke has gone down. We were more able to see sometimes very clean sky in above Ulaanbaatar city. But of course, we could not stop other kind of pollutions, air pollutions like what is coming from the car, etc. But visible result is there, no doubt. Thanks to the briquettes, they have brought coal from Tavan Tolgoi, made state company Tavan Tolgoi Fuel, which have been doing that briquette and selling to population with very much discount price. As a result, that state-owned company has big liability as a long-term debt. But that's what it's about, and that's what Mrs. Oyun Chimik, the parliament member, said. And first of all, they made a law to stop bringing raw coal to Ulaanbaatar from April last year, and they created this briquette factory, state-owned, etc. And they have also installed a filter in all schools and kindergartens in Ulaanbaatar city. And as you said, 75 billion Togriks was spent, and as a result, they say 50% cleaner we have the air, and which is to be still approved by the professionals, whether it is in terms of the clean air days or relatively clean air days, hours. So we don't know about the methodology they have been measuring.
So let's assume that 50% of the air pollution was reduced because of the coal briquettes. And what can we do about the rest of the 50%? There is still a lot of pollution, like mainly in chemical area.
That's correct. And still, if it is even 50% cleaner, then the remaining 50% we still to fight. Hopefully, one day we will have gas from the pipeline going through Mongolia from Russia to China, maybe 3-4 days from now. But until that, we still to continue this briquette consumption, which requires still more work, because when it's very cold days, under 30 degrees Celsius, people were using still smuggled raw coal. Somehow they came to the city, and there were police checking the smokes coming out in the Ulaanbaatar air, and they were going to that place, etc. So there were several active work of police involved. So we need to continue that work. And good thing is they have also a particular new money was involved in the budget of Ulaanbaatar city or the country to combat more with air pollutions. And according to Oyun Chimik, Ms. Oyun Chimik, it says the environment, Minister of Environment and Ulaanbaatar city both together have for 2020 $230 million equivalent tugrik for pollutions. We hope it will be helpful unless they again misuse the fund. And one thing, this is a Tawon Tolgoi Fuel Company, as I told, bringing they have brought 800,000 tons of coal, coking coal from Tawon Tolgoi, produced 750,000 tons of briquettes, and they will increase that capacity, I understand, and also they got money. So hopefully Ulaanbaatar will have even more cleaner air in the upcoming winter.
Okay, so according to Parliament member Arun Chimuk, she said that 750 billion tuguks were used in vain just for the air pollution for the last 10 years.
That's terrible statistic, isn't it?
Who should be held accountable?
That's the question we want to raise, because if the government spent 750 billion tugriks of this lower middle income country budget for nothing for 10 years, according to the Parliament member, we want to know who is this person, who are those persons. She said that first time they made state auditing for these expenses, and then why this report is not open, not accessible, and that she said that it went to the court. Okay, but we want to know. In particular now, before the election, we want to know who exactly misused that much amount of money, public money. And accordingly, if the state cannot have them hold responsible, then we want to have them, particularly these individuals, hold responsible, and we don't want to elect them, vote for them at the coming election, which is happening in 4 months in this country. And also because we have paid with the life of many children who died because this air pollutions. So they should be seriously held responsible for their misuse of money, not for only corruption, but also the purposely taking away the scarce resources which could save many thousand children's life. So that's an issue of accountability.
So several people died because of the coal briquette. Did the Parliament member Orange mention any of this? And what are they going to do about this?
When the briquettes was introduced to people, they had the leakage of carbon, which they could not see because it's unseen, and several people died. I think probably about 10 or so people directly or indirectly related with that leakage of carbon dioxide. And that's why each household today has sensor for if there is any leakage, which is a lot of money they spend. And now then we don't see any more report on dying from that leakage. And it can be also, I mean, one is to study properly what exactly was the cause of those deaths, and it's one day we need to report on that.
So do you think that the working committee will, work on this problem, because they clearly didn't research this one before implementing the project?
Yes, but however, this working group, I doubt that they will have a time to do so. It is now only 4 months to remaining. It's for all the citizens, civic society to find out what was the real cause of those deaths.
Okay, so let's get into our third topic now. Last Monday, citizen Boyan Dorj released 65-page materials about the corruption cases of judges and prosecutors and handed them to the chief of staff of the president of Mongolia, Iqbal. He claimed that his company, Noid Construction, was stolen by high-ranking officials of legislative power. He tried to solve this injustice for the last 8 years, but the courts and judges dismissed the case. So our first question about this one is, by law, this citizen must submit a proof to prosecutor or anti-corruption agency. So not the office of the president. Why did he do that? Is it because he was out of options?
No, because this case was against prosecutors. In our system, procureur is the main unit where they decide to send or not any case to court or not. So, so he approached it to the office of president because president is nominating or finally approving chief procureur and the other procureurs at a different level. So according to him, some procureurs, he put even names, Halung, Sandak Surung, and who else? He put the particular names and of procureurs who had demanded $100,000 from him. He said that he made a contract with a lawyer of their side, and $10,000 were paid, and another $90,000 will be depending on the result of his court case results. That's something. If it is true, it shows how corrupt is this court system of the country, procureur offices, etc. And this man earlier charged for also two cases. One was he was cheating. I saw this files, the information on the media. He was cheating Chinese citizens for $1.2 million for promising to buy a concentrate from Darhang Metallurgy Combinat, and also he made fake documents to get back Noida Construction, his company, from a person, Mrs. Bilicht. So for these two cases, and also he tried to impact on court judges. So with these three cases, he got 3 years in 2015 at the initial level of court. It's district level in Ulaanbaatar. Then there was appellation court, which had found that is true. Then they have made further investigation. Then they found out that he is not criminal. He has not done criminal actions. So question immediately raises, what kind of court system we have, which can make quite opposite. One is saying he made a criminal, he made crimes. The appellation says no, he made no crimes. Either this court system doesn't work, it has no clue. I mean, that's many cases, and it requires more clarification on one side. On the other side, in fact, it's many procureur, including the chief procureur of the country. Mr. Darluji was accused having, well, I mean, the person who said that $4 million was sent to his brother's account. Or another procureur, Tamir, who was bringing, trafficking narcotics through the border. What kind of procureurs are there? There are several lists of procureurs involved in this and that criminal actions. And the people are losing their trust in the procureur system, the court system. And they are supposed to protect and establish justice in Mongolian society, and yet they are doing just the opposite. So that's why people are losing their trust in the system, which is very bad for the future of the country.
What about the anti-government agency, anti-corruption agency? Are they doing anything about this?
Obviously, this case should go to anti-corruption agency, where the head was changed by the decisions of the state National Security Council, which first time made this kind of amendments, and the court systems they had to change heads of those the judges, procureurs through that law, which made more vulnerable the judicial system of the country to the kind of changes which can be supported just by three persons: the president, the prime minister, and the speaker, who are members of the National Security Council. And by their initiative, many laws, including can be changed, including nomination of this court system. So there are a lot of things to discuss in this country, to consider again what was the cause, etc.
So can you understand that? Is there a mini tunnel of injustice dug up by the legislative power?
Yep, this term, tunnel of injustice, was created by the former Prime Minister Altınkoyuk, and it is used again by the head of administration of the president, who said, when this Mr. Boyan Dorjten brought that his complaints to his office, he said very interesting thing. He said, the previous president made large corridor. Mini corridors are made, large corridor of injustice. And mini corridors were made by procureur and judges in the country. And like in the case of Mr. Boyan Dorj, many businesses were under the pressure, and they were misusing their power. So people can bring complaint like this guy to the president. He was saying. So a very important note he made. He said the previous president made a large corridor. He basically was approving what was said by the prime minister, ex-prime minister Altınkoyuk, which raises a question: who is lying here? If the previous president was creating the system to punish people whom he disliked, create such a system through the enforcement power, the people were punished, then he should have hold responsible for that. If he did not do it, then Mr. Inkbal should be held responsible for these words. So if he was doing that injustice towards own citizens, then where is he now? That's the question we want to know as public from the state establishment in this country. So still Mongolia has to go a lot to have a justice, which people are so disappointed. They lose their trust in the government, which we should express it because it's a democratic system, for the election coming in 3-4 months.
So is there any current attempt to make another large corridor of injustice, according to him?
Well, good question. If the presidents can do like the previous one, then where is the guarantee that the current one will not do it, for example? So that just is the very question, putting the very question like this, raising very serious doubt about impartiality of Mongolian justice system of justice. That's why many corrupt cases goes up, makes big noises, and disappear. So the people in this country demand justice. If the government cannot do it, the people do it at the election. That's what we are expecting, and that's the way how it should go.
So how can we fight against this? Are you saying that we can fight against this through this election?
Well, citizens in democratic society themselves, through their civic organizations, NGOs, they express their opinion, which is finally really expressed in election. So new election is coming, and people not happy with this all injustice existing and created by our state establishment. So this is the only way what we can do as voters. So we are waiting, and we are demanding more transparent actions of the government in all these cases.
Okay, so unfortunately that is all the time we had for today. We will see you next week with more updates and news and topics. So
thank you
have a
very
nice
much.
evening.
See you later.
Goodbye.
Thank you.